Welcome to the Dental Decoders podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Rogars, and I'm here to help you crack the code on all things dental operations. Each week, we dive into topics to help you overcome roadblocks, streamline operations, and reduce team burnout. Whether you're an owner, a practice manager, or a team member, this podcast is for you. Join us for insightful discussions, engaging interviews, and practical tips. So sit back and relax as we crack the code on all things dental operations together. Well, hello, Decoders. So great to be able to chat with you this week. My name is Brittany Rogars. I am your host, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. It is a solo episode, which I am super excited about. But not only is it a solo episode, it's actually a segment from my most recent keynote, which is about how to go from stress to success inside your dental practice. And it's applicable for all offices, but it is targeted for those who are using open dental or considering the change. So we do talk about practical tips that you can use in any office, but we do specifically focus on some things that can be implemented inside open dental software to make that even better for you. I was so excited putting this keynote together. It almost came to me in a dream. It's something that I'm so passionate about, and I hope you can tell while listening to the keynote. I really let my personality come out in this one, and I think that makes it a little bit easier to digest all of the information that I give you. This keynote is all about how we can make our jobs easier. For those of you who don't know, or maybe just found the podcast and didn't come through because you know who I am, I started my business after working inside a practice and growing through the ranks and absolutely falling in love with dentistry. But then, like many of us do, I got burnt out. And I decided that I needed to switch my career path in order to kind of have this elusive work-life balance. During that process of transitioning into my own business, I found that what I'm really passionate about is helping offices reduce the ability to have that same burnout that I had. So we're all about implementing systems, streamlining operations, team training, all the things to make things easier inside the office so you don't have to have your on switch going all the time. So you can go home from work, you can punch out, and you can focus on home instead of being worried about all those projects you didn't get done at the office. So my business, SKF Practice Solutions, is designed to fill that void. So we help you learn not only how to use your software, but how to maximize all of the things. One of the common things we hear is we don't know what we don't know. And every time I do a training, people are learning new little tips that they, even if they've been using the software for a long time, they didn't know about. So all of that long-winded stuff to say that my passion really is helping offices make the most out of what they have. And that's what this keynote is all about. So you're going to listen to me talk for the next few minutes, so I'll stop with the intro and let you get into the episode, but thank you again so much for listening. So today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to take your practice from stress to success with open dental software. My name is Brittany Rogars. I am the CEO and founder of SKF Practice Solutions. So SKF Practice Solutions was created because I worked in a dental practice. Started at the front desk and moved into a billing and insurance coordinating role. And then I became the operations coordinator right around 2020. So while everyone was at home learning how to make sourdough bread, I was in the office. I was working countless hours. I was getting phone calls and texts and emails from my coworkers saying, I can't afford groceries this week. My electric bill is past due. What am I going to do? I'm out of work and I don't know how to pivot from that. That was heartbreaking. I'm sure we all remember what that felt like. So I decided the best thing for me to do was to pivot, leave the dental practice, stay in dentistry, and help practices do what I love most, which is learning how to optimize, learning how to make things easier, avoid that burnout in themselves that I was feeling in my day job. And thus SKF Practice Solutions was born. Around 90% of dentists who are trying to hire right now find it difficult to recruit. This next stat I really liked because it really speaks to my heart. Introducing smarter and more efficient practice systems can improve your productivity by 18%. So I want to talk about burnout. I said that in my practice, I was feeling very burnt out. I was feeling tired. I was feeling overworked.
and I was feeling like I was like on a hamster wheel. I could never really catch up. So burnout's become a super trendy word, and I want to talk about what it actually means for those of you who maybe somehow missed the burnout bubble. Physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress. This is John. John is an office manager. He works 50-hour weeks, bare minimum. He can't go on vacation without bringing his work laptop, checking his email. He's missing his kids' soccer games. He doesn't have a social life. He comes home and gets right back to work. It's a never-ending cycle for John. How many of you feel like John? Like going back Monday is going to be kind of scary. And for those of you who didn't raise your hand, have you ever felt like John? Yes. On the other hand, this is Amy. Amy goes on 2 vacations a year. She goes to all her kids' soccer games. She takes a cooking class once a week. When she goes on those vacations, she doesn't bring her work laptop at all. And she's encouraged not to. She doesn't check her work email. Her staff doesn't call her. She enjoys her vacation with her family. And when she comes back into her office after that vacation, they didn't even know she was gone. It runs so smoothly when she's not there. Now, how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow as Amy? Pretty good, right? Any Swifties in the house? Because we'll talk later. Hey, I found my people. Does anybody not know who this is? So why do we know who this is? We know who this is because she has an army of raving fans. She has her Swifties. And how does she have her Swifties? Is it because she's the best artist who's ever lived? I mean, I'm a Swiftie. I think so. But like realistically, no, she's not. She provides a consistent experience for her fans that has grown with them over time. And I can relate to her album when I was 14 and it first came out, and I'm 30 now and I still love it. How can we make an army of Swifties for your practice? First thing we're going to talk about is morning huddle. Now, we've talked about morning huddle pretty extensively. I know a lot of you raised your hand and said you're already doing a huddle, but quite a few less of you raised your hand when they said this huddle was impactful and they feel like it set them up for a good day. Those of you who are doing a huddle, is your huddle created to have your team have the best day or to have your patients have the best experience? Because there's no reason it can't do both, right? We don't have to ask, so how's the weather? What's new? We can ask them impactful questions that make you different from every other dental practice in your town. Now let's take this back to John and Amy. This is the note that John leaves for his team. It says, handle appointments, manage inventory, communicate with staff, complete administrative tasks. And John wonders why he can't go on a vacation or why the Mondays after always suck. Here's Amy's note. It says handle appointments. Check the daily appointment schedule to identify any cancellations or rescheduling requests. Contact patients with upcoming appointments to confirm their attendance and remind them of any necessary pre-appointment instructions. Use the office's scheduling software to adjust the appointment schedule as needed, ensuring optimal time and patient flow. You see the difference between these two things? This is the third option, the third piece I'm going to teach you about today. For those of you who haven't seen the movie Groundhog's Day, I haven't actually seen the movie Groundhog's Day, just so we're clear. You're in good company. Essentially, he wakes up every day and he's living the same life over and over again, the same day over and over again. There are things inside of your practice that make you feel like you're living in Groundhog's Day. In just a second, I'm going to switch to a QR code. And I'm going to ask you to take your phones out and scan it. It's going to allow you to submit answers live. I want to know, what kinds of things are you doing in your office that make you feel like you're living in Groundhog's Day? All right, guys, I'm going to ask you to put your phones back down. I'm going to read these answers out. I'm not tech savvy enough to pull this up on the screen for you guys, so I'm just going to read them to you. So some of the things we have on here is prepping for huddle, putting out fires throughout the day. That's actually on here a lot of times. Repeating questions, scheduling, small daily jobs. Anybody relate to these things? Some of the things that you guys submitted were repeated multiple times, so I know you're all feeling a lot of the same struggles. Those things that you're doing over and over again that make you feel like you're living in Groundhog's Day, that's when we can rely on automations and systems. Now, I don't think that your practice should rely entirely on computers, entirely on AI, machines to take care of all of the things. I don't want you to lose what makes you special, and that's your people. But How many people do we need? 150,000 dental employees in order to make up for the deficit right now? Can we use machines to combat some of that? I'm going to show you a couple different ways that we can automate using Open Dental. For those of you who aren't using Open Dental, I'm sorry. If you want to switch, let me know. Before we get into the machine part about it, I want to make sure we focus on the man portion of this man versus machine. And I say man because that's the saying, but every single example I have is women. So we're rolling with it. This is the FOA team. You've been able to meet all of us and talk to all of us a little bit this weekend, and a lot of you before this weekend. You may have noticed that we all have a little bit of a different flavor. We have different personalities. We've got different skill sets, different areas of expertise. Our combined brains make us the powerful team that we are. And it's because we all have different areas of expertise and different pieces that make us great in our areas. So how can we apply this same mentality to your dental practice? This is Betty. Betty's a dental assistant. She works 3 days a week in the op with our owning doctor. She's got a wedding coming up, so she's really trying to get some extra hours, or she's looking to kind of fill up some extra time with work, but our doc's only here 3 days a week. So how can we help Betty accomplish her goals inside our practice? And one thing you're going to learn about Betty is she's got the best chair side in the game. Go check our Google reviews. Everyone is saying, Betty's great, Betty made me laugh, Betty's the best. And that's where she excels. So how can we use Betty? We can turn her into our new patient concierge. And we can use automations to help support this new role that we're making for her. So every time we create a new patient appointment, our auto codes automatically attach this dummy code that we made for new patient concierge calls. So it's always on there. So Betty just has to run a report of what new patient concierge calls are in the treatment plan and who do I need to start calling back. We've got an auto note tied to this code, and it asks very specific questions. When Betty makes this phone call, she's calling and she's saying, "Hi, Brittany, how was your visit with us?" She's not soliciting a Google review. She's not trying to schedule more treatment. She's genuinely just asking, how was your time here? What could we have done to make that better for you? Would you tell your friends about us? If not, why? And she's putting that into the note that's prompting her through each and every question. On the other hand, we have Augusta. Augusta started at this practice, and she was supposed to be the greeter. She's the front desk. She's the person you see when you walk in. She's supposed to have the smile and be happy all the time. But Augusta ran the outstanding insurance claims report for the first time and realized nobody's done that in a year. So she's trying to verify insurances and call on those claims and check out this patient and fill this scheduling gap. And this is what she looks like. So what can we do with someone like Augusta who's having a hard time maintaining that happy face all the time, checking patients in because her workload is pulling her in other directions? We can have her work on that outstanding insurance claim that we were talking about away from the desk. She can use this report in Open Dental, which is an automated report. It's designed to be worked right inside of this report, so you don't need to print it and bring slides somewhere else and make a spreadsheet and move things around. You work it right from this report. It has all of the information that you need to get a claim paid. It tells you the carrier information, the patient information, the subscriber information, and it's all right here. Plus, you can automatically add notes and statuses from this report, so there's no reason to leave it. She can work on this report for a couple hours a week in our slower times. And not only is that helping Augusta feel valued and supported and like she's in the right role in serving your practice, but it's also helping our AR get cleaner. What's really common with Open Dental is you don't know what you don't know, and almost everybody's self-taught. So you only can learn so much on your own before you are like, this is how it works. My rule of thumb for Open Dental is if it seems hard or like there's too many clicks, you're probably doing it wrong, or there's probably an easier way. So when we do the live training after this, I'll show you guys how to use this report and how to put in status histories and how to get all the notes and keep everything up to date. Now let's talk about the machine half of man versus machine. Open Dental is a smartphone. If you're using it to just make appointments and that's really it, We're just charting, making appointments. You're missing the entire point of the software. It's the most cost-effective software out there. So if that's really all you want to do in your practice with it, that's fine. But again, we're trying to find ways to make things easier for you guys as employees. And this software has the capability to do that. So I'm going to show you guys a few different ways that we can automate things inside your practice. So when we were talking about Augusta, we were talking about how she can go work the outstanding insurance claim report during slow times. But what if you don't have really slow times? What if you don't have times where you can have one person just walk away from the desk for a couple hours? Open Dental has self-check-in. Now, I don't recommend using this all day, every day for every single patient all the time. But during those hours when you need some help and you want to have Augusta work on things and you only have one body at the desk or two bodies at the desk, wouldn't you rather have those people focus on check-out treatment planning, making the patient comfortable with something as important as finances, instead of, hi, welcome to Brittany Dental. We can use self-check-in for this. Open Dental also has its own internal automations. So that means things that we're doing, those Groundhog Day moments, if I can eliminate some of those using my software, I can just set it up right in here. So 2 examples that I use with a lot of my clients. Lab cases. If you're using the lab case tracking feature, I know that was a question somebody asked about yesterday too, so we'll get into that a little more in the training. But if you're using the tracking and you forget to attach the lab case to your seat appointment, it's a useless tool. And when I was at the desk, this is something that we forgot all the time, attaching the lab case to the seat appointment. Now, whenever we schedule a seat appointment, we're automatically going to get a pop-up that says, hey, don't forget to attach your lab case, initial or replacement. It still makes me anxious a little bit thinking about it. This was the most difficult part of my entire job when I was a billing and insurance coordinator. If your team bills out a prosthetic code and they don't mark it as initial or replacement, you can't push your claim out. You need that information. So I was always having to run upstairs and ask the doctor or ask the assistant, and that builds that front versus back animosity, you didn't do the initial versus replacement. Or, oh, why can't you just put it in there for me? I don't know it. But it led to that breakdown in our team culture because I was constantly asking. So now anytime my clinical team bills out a pros code, it's going to prompt them to ask initial or replacement. One of my least favorite things that I had to do when I was gathering this information, if the team member who saw the patient didn't know if it was initial or replacement, I had to call and ask, hi, Miss Smith, I know you were just seen for roughly $2,000 worth of work in our practice, but we don't actually know. Was this the first time you've had a crown done or the second? And if this was the second time, when was the first time? That's already planting those seeds of mistrust with your patient because it seems like you don't know what you're doing. Even though the dentistry was phenomenal, they don't know that. The next automation is a 2-piece animation. So first and foremost, we all play the insurance game in here. Most of us play the insurance game in here, and we have to deal with claim denials. The most common reason claims are denied are because we're not giving them all of the information that they need for that specific policy. A lot of insurance carriers have AI processing these claims now, and they're scanning for keywords. You don't have those keywords, you don't have the information that they're looking for, your claim is going to get auto-denied or passed on to a person who's going to skim through it. It's going to take longer. If we can put this information at the beginning of our notes for crowns and core buildups or for any pros really, it's going to help us reduce the amount of denials that we're getting. Why did we do the crown? What was the prep date? What was the seat date? If we're doing a core buildup, what is the percentage of missing tooth structure that required us to do the core? Did we take an IO photo of that tooth after it was prepped to show why we needed the core buildup? This auto note will walk us through all of that. So we have it to copy and paste right into our claim and send off to the carrier. The next one is explosion codes. And a lot of offices are using explosion codes, but they're using them for just like the standard, here's ADA code 1, here's ADA code 2. If we can incorporate some of these we can make dummy codes in the system. If we can incorporate some of those into our explosion codes, it's going to help us eliminate the issue of, oh, I forgot to take that IO photo. I forgot to take that PA, because it's attached to the appointment. It's right there for you with one button click. So for this explosion code at our practice, when we do a crown, we always treatment plan a core buildup just in case. We do an insert, obviously. We take a single bite wing at seat, and we take an IO photo of that prep tooth to send insurance. That's all included in my explosion code. So when they treatment plan that in the back, it's all on there. Now it's not, I forgot to take that IO photo. It's, oh yeah, today I'm taking an IO photo. We talk about that in Huddle. It's on my appointment. It's on my router. These are all things that we're doing every day. We're doing recall texts. We're doing confirmations. We're verifying insurance. We're scheduling appointments. We're sending review requests. I want to take you back to Aimee. I want you to remember how it felt when I asked you how it would feel to wake up as Aimee. If you took even one thing that you learned from anybody's presentation, you're moving the needle a little bit from John towards Aimee. For those of you who are feeling like John, remember you're not alone. I encourage you to stick around for the Open Dental Live training, listen to everybody else's presentations, and talk to the people in the room who already feel like Aimee, and see what else you can do to get away from this. I want to leave you with one quote that I found when I was still managing a team, and it starts with my least favorite word, delegate. That was hard for me as a micromanager to learn how to let things go. But delegate. Work smarter, not harder. Do what you do best and drop the rest. Get control of your calendar and do what you love because it will give you energy. Work with people you like so your energy isn't depleted. I hope you guys learned something that you can introduce inside your practice on Monday to make your life just a little bit easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Dental Decoders podcast. We hope you took away a valuable piece of information. As always, don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe to help us build our community of dental decoders. We look forward to seeing you for next week's episode.